Ash vs. Cynthia has attracted a lot of negative attention, mostly from Discord and Twitter fans obsessed with power scaling. I think I made myself clear in previous videos how I approach power scaling as a concept. They're just fun fan constructs used to see who would win in a fight with no narrative weight. In a vacuum, I do enjoy it a lot because it's a fun thought experiment. But in a narrative, I utterly reject power scaling as a driving force. Yes, there should be a difficulty curve for the protagonist, but character actions and accomplishments are ultimately in service of a greater narrative. I didn't walk out of Rey vs. Kylo because Rey won because she's an untrained girl with a lightsaber. Oh no, I dislike it because it diminishes Kylo as a physical threat, aka the thing we come to Star Wars to see. And the less said about Rise of Skywalker, the better. So let's get into the arguments of the Ash versus Cynthia detractors, shall we? The first one is just Cynthia would have won with Mega Garchomp. And of all the arguments I've seen, this one by far takes the cake with how commonly it's used. It runs off the reasoning that, hey, Garchomp is her strongest Pokemon, Mega Evolution increases power, Mega Garchomp should be allowed to beat any competitor beneath her, and the proof used is often Iris's and Cynthia's battle. But this is purely a fan construct and not a narrative. From a narrative standpoint, I will give them this. Mega Garchomp makes the most sense. We have barely seen Togekiss. We've seen Garchomp a lot. We've even got a nice backstory about Cynthia and Garchomp. It's quite a bit more emotionally satisfying to see Garchomp than it is with Togekiss. But this video isn't Cyril complaints about the narrative choices of journeys. That video is certainly in the pipeline. This is me defending Ash vs. Cynthia from this stupid argument. And I say, Mega Garchomp would not have made a single difference in the outcome of Ash vs. Cynthia. Long-term viewers of this channel know that I ascribe to Stan Lee's sentiment on who would win in a fight. The person who'd win in a fight is the person the script writer wants to win. It honestly doesn't matter if the writers handed Cynthia 6 Mega Stones, an entire set of Z Crystals, or an Infinity Gauntlet. The narrative the writers want to push is Ash versus Leon as the finale. Cynthia is the mere stepping stone. And honestly, this is where all arguments derived from this come from, and it runs under the same problem. At the end of the day, she's just a collection of lines, colors, and sound just like every other animated character. She has no agency of her own. Of course, there's the argument that you don't have proof Mega Garchomp would lose. I hesitated putting this argument here because it is basically the entire previous argument with more appeal to ignorance. It doesn't even refute any of my points about character agency. Cynthia has years of experience. There's no way she could have lost. Another pretty common argument, and it highlights people not differentiating between real-world experience, which is everything, and narrative experience. Experience in the real world is pretty much everything outside a streak of bad luck, because stuff does happen outside your control. But in a narrative, experience is used to increase dramatic tension. In Demon Slayer, we see this in Kokushibo, how he memorizes the exact dates of past Hashira he has fought and killed, and gives the impression that he is a big threat. But at the end of the day, he doesn't actually have this experience, he's just a collection of lines and colors. The real winner of the battle has been decided before anyone has drawn their weapons. How can Ash win with a new team he trained only for a little over 100 episodes? That's unrealistic. I do empathize with this sentiment a bit because I've been rather critical of the narrative choices Journeys has made for quite some time. I do want to point out that whenever I see this argument made, actually, it's rarely about the poor narrative choices the anime pulls, and we have a lot of them. It is always about rejecting a victory over Cynthia as a concept. You can do anything in a narrative, no matter how dumb it sounds. You can have us empathize with a green rage monster. You can turn the fourth wall into a fine powder. Whenever this argument is used, it is never about writing or the 100 episodes. It's always about beating Cynthia. Yes, Journeys has a problem with actually showing progression. I got more out of the small training arcs in My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer than I got out of Ash's entire Journeys team. That is an issue. But I'm not going to reject his victory over a path. Stories are path functions, not state functions. How you get from point A to point B matters. But you cannot reject that someone went to point B just because you didn't like the path. I don't think anyone who makes this argument actually has an issue of the 100 or so episodes. We've seen characters in many forms of media do way more in less time. It's all a matter of how the story is told. But rejecting the victory over Cynthia because you didn't like the outcome or how the story is told is not story criticism, that's just your head in the sand. That's all, folks. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and tipping me on Ko-fi. God bless.